Chapter 9. The Queen. Drake was filled with frustration. The journey took so many tolls on him and constantly made him lose time. In order to find his friends, he sailed to Gande. Filled with worries and stress, his time asleep hadn't helped much. All the worries caused such exhaustion, and everyone really needed a break. But they only had a few days left. Even Drake was slowly losing hope. When the boat stopped before it hit the ice, Drake jumped off without thinking and ran straight to Gande. When he made it to the land, he shouted the names of his friends but didn't receive a response. He kept searching for them, but they were nowhere to be found. But next to one of the houses he saw something in the snow. Maya's hairpin. Maya hadn't realized it, but when Roland pushed her, her hairpin fell out. He retrieved it and headed for Astro, assuming they'd already gone there. Grum, the sailor, came for him and tried to stop him. "Drake, you can't walk all the way to Astro. You're still recovering." "There's no time to lose," Drake replied. The way to Astro was blocked off as well. Everything in between Gande and Astro was frozen. While Grum watched Drake go there on foot, he worried for Drake's health. And he was right. Drake wasn't capable of such a trip. But Drake's stubbornness got the better of him once again. Astro was in sight, and he had to get there. After a while, Drake's emotions caused trouble along the way. He felt that taking more steps became more difficult. He quickly realized the ice underneath his feet was melting, and with every step the ice was heating up. Drake started running but didn't realize it was the cause of the ice melting. While he seemed to be incapable of making it to Astro before ending up underwater, his fear and concerns increased. He knew he couldn't make it. And soon enough there was nothing to run on anymore. Drake submerged underwater and his body started freezing. The pain and the stinging of the cold temperature was unbearable. But this couldn't be the end. Drake flipped the switch and showed more confidence than ever. He was going to make it, whatever challenges he'd face. If the end was near, he was going to be with his friends while it happened, no matter what. And because of this determination, Drake emerged from the water, engulfed in a whirlpool of water, and his pupils colored blue. Whatever it was Drake was capable of, this wasn't the first time. Whatever it was something extraordinarily powerful. Drake managed to get onto the ice again while keeping his emotions under control. This prevented the ice from melting. Drake ran as fast as he could, pushing himself forward with small gusts. He still felt like freezing. He focused on overheating himself and managed to feel warm again. He purposely avoided warming up his feet, because if he did, the ice would melt again. Drake kept on running, faster than ever, and eventually he saw his friends in the distance. They had just made it to land. Haru heard something coming their way and turned around. "Is that—" "Drake!" Julia said joyfully. Drake made it to land and had trouble remaining on both feet. Julia helped him and made sure he wouldn't fall. Drake reached for Maya's hairpin in his pocket and gave it back to her. She saw it and touched her hair, and only then realized she'd lost it. "Thank you." She put the hairpin back in her hair. "Not the first time I recover someone's jewelry," Drake said with a humorous tone while looking at Julia. Julia smiled back. "We're too late," Roland said with a depressed tone. Astro was a landscape of snowy hills, or at least since the day. There seemed to be nothing left to find. "What lived here?" Maya asked. "Not many people," Gregory said, "but lots of creatures of all kinds. Astro served as a home to these phenomenal creatures, but it's all gone. You have your tales of the king of the forest, but there's a legend speaking of Astro's queen," Francis explained. "Although Oz has been proven to be real," Haru said. "You think we'll still find anything here?" Julia asked. "Doubtfully. Let's go back," Gregory replied. Before they could turn around, they were caught off guard by a red-eyed snow golem who had survived the cold, crawling out of the snow. "Step back," the captain said. "Men, hooks!" The sailors were equipped with weaponry in case of situations like these. Their weapons were mainly hooks, attached to ropes. As they threw their hooks, they tried to pin down the monster. "That won't hold long." As they thought of a way to defeat the golem, Julia was the one who gained an idea. "Keep him busy." Julia bent through her knees and placed her hands on the snow. It hurt, but she pulled through. Shortly after, she was able to sense the roots from underneath the ground. "Not everything's dead yet." She moved the roots of dying trees from under the ground and helped pin down the golem. "Thank you, Julia," the captain said. He walked up to the golem and revealed a knife. He stabbed the monster through its head and killed it. "Was that really necessary?" Julia asked with disgust. The captain looked at her but showed no emotion. He'd just lost his daughter, after all. "Watch out!" Harry shouted. The captain turned around and barely dodged another creature, but within a second, the creature was nowhere to be found. What was that? Julia asked. I think I saw a fox, Haru said, confused. The captain looked at him and started to show worry. Snow foxes, be alert. Snow foxes? Those are not dangerous, Julia pointed out. Maybe where you're from. We've dealt with them before, and they're not exactly pleasant. Ouch! At that moment, Gregory's arm was cut in an instant. They're wicked fast, and their claws shred through flesh with ease. I felt that, Gregory said. They tried to concentrate. Suddenly, from all directions, they were ambushed by snow foxes. As they tried to defend themselves, they were only able to take out a few. The rest were too fast. Well, might as well use this for the first time, Maya said as she readied her weapon. You're a fan? You've used that before, Haru said. I was kind of saving this for a special occasion, but I might as well. Maya swung her fan and several metal feathers came flying out of it. The foxes had pulled back and the feathers simply hit the snow. They waited until the critters would come out and attack again. When they did, Maya swung her fan again and more feathers ejected. She did something no one besides her knew she could do. She moved the feathers around herself and took out several foxes like she was controlling metal. Where'd you learn that? Haru said, flabbergasted. Honestly, last time we saw Haven, I wanted to surprise you. Ah, well, yeah, you certainly did. Like father, like daughter, she said proudly. Maya moved the metal feathers in a circle that protected everyone from further attacks. Each of the foxes that tried to get through was shredded apart. Well done, Maya, the captain said with gratitude. Even though they succeeded in taking down the snow foxes, it was an unpleasant sight. Julia and Drake hadn't helped. While Drake was too weak to help, Julia couldn't bring herself to attack the creatures. But even if Drake had the strength, he too knew it was wrong. When everything was quiet, another challenge showed itself. A sudden snowstorm kicked up, and from behind the snowflakes appeared a gigantic snow owl. It flew higher up in the air, made a screeching noise and started flapping its wings. The owl created an icy wind, harmful to the others. They were freezing and the cold stung so badly. They couldn't move. Haru tried to move his arm upwards and aimed at the owl. He summoned the wind to counter that of the owl and managed to partially block the freezing wind. Haru tried to gather his other arm and was able to fully block it. This way, everyone could move again and recover from the pain. The owl gave up, stopped flapping its wings, and landed. It looked at them for a few seconds. Drake noticed its red eyes and saw something else besides anger, but a spear struck the creature before anything could be done. No! Drake and Julia both screamed at the same time. Roland's spear pierced the owl's heart, killing it. Roland looked at the creature, full of anger. They're not themselves, Drake pointed out, but Roland nor the captain cared. They had lost too much, and their anger, their sadness, their hatred, they released onto those creatures. Maya heard what Drake said and felt sorry. I'm sorry, Drake. Drake looked at her and immediately felt proud. He smiled, understanding Maya felt regretful. We have to go. We can't sit around and wait for a dragon to appear, Roland said angrily. The ground shook and a sudden explosion of frozen earth and snow flew through the air. You've got to be kidding me. An actual dragon emerged from the earth and flew upwards with an elegant pirouette. The creature was larger than any dragon they'd ever seen. It was colored white in the majority and its back was covered in shiny gems of all kinds of colors. When the dragon spotted them, it flew towards them. Drake took a few steps until he stood in front of everyone. No, he said confidently. Despite everyone's expectations, the dragon slowed down. The ground shook again when it landed. Drake was a meter away from a marvelous being. Unlike with the other creatures, its eyes were colored purple. We meet at last, the dragon spoke with a female voice. The dragon hearted. I'm sorry for what happened, Drake said. They didn't mean it. It is not their fault. Their anger is not the menace they're fighting. Who are you? The dragon prepared to lift off again. When she flew up, she created a strong air current. She moved her enormous wings around and summoned the water from the ocean. The earth below her started levitating and circled around her. A sudden burst of flames came out of nowhere, and the elements air, water, earth, and fire created a beautiful scenery. When she landed, the water and earth returned, the current stopped, and the flames quenched. When it was quiet again, she leaned forward. Come with me, she said. She moved her head towards Drake and closed her eyes. Slowly, Drake moved his hand towards her head. The moment he touched her, they were suddenly alone. It was just them, and everything around them was gone and had turned into a purple, flat landscape. It wasn't cold anymore either. They call me the Queen, but I cannot possibly accept such a role. There is someone else who carries this name and deserves it more than I do. I carry no name, but if you crave answers, you need only ask. I want to ask the same thing. Who are you? You can call me the creation dragon. What is happening? Drake asked with a saddened tone. Humanity. What does that mean? War. There's no war. This ice age is decided by nature. I'm afraid that is not true. Dark forces control these dark days. Soon, humanity will learn what it feels like to lose. You, above all. I don't want to lose. Some would say the minds of humans are filled with hatred and destruction. But do you know what, in my eyes, makes humanity so astounding? Courage, determination, love. That's cheesy, Drake said with a chuckle. It is, but that doesn't make it false. So what happens now? Whatever happens, happens. But despite what happens, you cannot give up. And why is that? Why me? The dragon chuckled. Because I know you, and I know you won't. Who is CK? CK has been with you from the start, and will remain by your side until the very end. Is that all, my dear? I have one more question. Who am I? A marvel. The purple landscape returned to normal. Drake could feel the cold again and saw his friends around him. The dragon lifted off and spoke the last few lines to him. In 2 days' time, the world will lose their queen. You will protect them as their king. Drake, every being who loses their path can find their way back. Your path led to CK from the very start, only to see it all fall apart. But nothing really does fall apart when creation is there to bend it. So remain strong, never give up, and fight for a better future. We meet again at the end. On the first day the world will mend.